Obviously, I'm here to tell you about some tips for caregivers for the holiday season. For most families, the holidays are filled with opportunities for togetherness and sharing laughter, for sharing memories. Christmas is past and enjoying the Christmas present. But for someone who is caring for a loved one with dementia, there may be some special challenges that come up. And it also can increase the chance of stress, disappointment, sadness, because there are a lot of losses with dementia, both for the person who has dementia and for the people caring for them and about them. Caregivers can feel very overwhelmed, and maintaining the holiday traditions and keeping up the expectations of their relatives and friends can become just overwhelming and make them feel very stressed. And it's also important to remember the feelings of the person who has dementia. You might think that they don't realize what's happening, and in some cases, depending on where they are in their journey with Alzheimer's, they might not realize. But in earlier stages, they do realize that they are missing something. The memories of holidays go back into childhood, which means they are deeply rooted in memory, and so they are still there. But yet, someone with Alzheimer's may realize that they don't remember everything, and that can produce feelings of sadness and loss for them as well. So always remember their feelings too. So I mentioned challenging situations. What are some of those situations? There are things that are present in our lives during December that just aren't there the rest of the year. 11 months of the year, we go about our business without flashing lights and the bright holiday lights and crowds of party goers possibly. But during December, we try to cram a lot into 1 month. And among those are going to parties and gatherings where there are groups of people, some of whom a person with dementia might not know or remember. The parties are often loud gatherings. Loud gatherings are often filled with people talking a lot at a loud level. There might be music. Those things can be very distracting for someone who has dementia. Christmas is lights that are flashing, brightly colored lights. To someone with Alzheimer's, they may be something totally different to them, like a burning bush. A lit Christmas tree can become a burning bush in the mind of someone with dementia. And then there is the food. So we get off schedule with our diets and our sleeping habits, and it's easy to eat too much, and those things can all contribute to problems for anyone, and especially someone with dementia. And I did want to mention, church service is something that is typically deeply rooted, the Christmas service. Typically when you're in church, it's brightly lit. A candlelight service can be very upsetting for someone with dementia. So keep that in mind if you take your loved one to a candlelight service. So the first thing to do is to prepare yourself for the holidays. If you're a caregiver, give yourself permission to do what you can reasonably manage. Now, I'm sorry, I should have mentioned that I'm following the PowerPoint presentation that you have, the handout that you have. And it's okay to adjust traditions that you've had, firmly established in your family for many years. It's okay to adjust them to what works for you now. Things have changed in your life if you're a caregiver of someone with Alzheimer's. And you may have to adjust a lot of things, and it's okay to do that. It's also okay to ask for help or to accept it if it's offered. And focus on opportunities to share the opportunities that the holiday presents in sharing with people. Instead of worrying about the big family dinner, focus on what you're going to do in terms of spending time with your family and enjoying them. Now, in one of those I mentioned being flexible. To be flexible means you might have to change some of the things you've done in the past. If you are typically the entertainer who likes to have a dinner for 50 or a party for 50, and maybe you just feel like you can't manage that this year, so that traditional party can maybe be pared down. In fact, it's a good idea to do that if you're having guests in your home, because someone with Alzheimer's may not be able to handle a lot of people in the home that are unfamiliar to them. Even if they are familiar, it might be too much to handle. So break your gatherings down into visits of 2 or 3 people at a time and spread those visits out. Many people have a traditional evening meal or a big holiday dinner in the evening. If that's your tradition, you might have to change that to a holiday brunch or a lunch. Evenings are often a bad time for people with Alzheimer's or dementia. And sometimes they just can't handle that extra activity in the evening. So it's okay to turn it into a lunch or a brunch. Don't feel like you can't do that. And when you invite people, just ask them to bring something. Or if they say, can I bring something, tell them what to bring. You don't have to do it all. And I know females are especially bad about that. I know I'm queen of that. So, and it's even okay to ask others to host the dinner. And you know, this Thanksgiving, I was kind of proud of my mother-in-law. I hope she doesn't mind my sharing this, but my mother-in-law has always done the big family dinner, and my father-in-law has Alzheimer's. We had Hy-Vee catered dinner this year, so, and you know, it was just great because it took so much pressure off of her. We had the time together. We enjoyed a nice, tasty turkey from Hy-Vee with all the trimmings. I took pies. It was great. It was really a good example of changing a traditional habit to accommodate the needs of an Alzheimer's patient. And you know, after Christmas, we all feel a little let down. I know I do. It's just you've had so much in 1 month, and you've done it all, and then all of a sudden it's over. For someone who's caregiving, it can be even worse. So prepare for that. Maybe arrange for someone to come in so you can get an afternoon off and just relax with a friend, or go to a movie, go out to lunch. Plan for that. Now, before you have guests come to your home or you go to a party, it's not a bad idea to let the guests know what's going on in your life. If they haven't seen your loved one for a while, they might not understand or realize where things are at with them in their journey of Alzheimer's. And it's sometimes possible, I've noticed sometimes people feel hesitant to even ask people to come to their home. Sometimes there's feelings of embarrassment about how their loved one acts. And because if they haven't relayed to someone, their guest, how things are with them, that's a very real possibility that you're going to feel embarrassed. That will lessen if you let the other people, the people who are coming, know that you have had a change in your life, in your home situation. So communicate with your friends and family. Just be real upfront and let them know that things have changed. Let them know where you're at. And explain to them clearly what is going on, where things are at in the journey of Alzheimer's. You can do this by calling them or by leaving a letter. And a few slides down, there are examples of how you can word that. It's important to encourage people to come because, while you might be hesitant to ask people to come to your home, the people who haven't seen their loved one in a while may feel reluctant to visit. They don't know how to act. They don't know what to expect. So be sure to keep that door open and help your family feel comfortable about coming to your home. And let them know that they shouldn't expect the person with dementia to actively participate in their old roles. Now, sometimes they can't. It just comes right back, or it kicks right in. Those old memories kick in, and they will act the charming host or hostess. But that isn't always the case. And if you just allow the person with dementia to be an observer, it's okay, because it will take the stress off of everything. And again, give them examples of the behaviors that are going on, because each stage of Alzheimer's has its own unique behaviors. And Alzheimer's is an individual journey for everyone. And again, stress to them that what's important is being together and remembering the moment you're in, enjoying it. Okay, and these are examples, and this is in your handout, just examples if you do want to write to someone or email or even call them. These are examples of what you can tell them, so they will just give you a little idea of how to start that conversation. Okay, so you want to take some time to prepare the person who has Alzheimer's for people coming. If possible, get your photo albums out and show your loved one pictures of the people who are coming so they can prepare for it. And it's not too early to start a week beforehand. And every day spend a little time explaining who is coming and they might expect from them. Give them hints about what they have meant to them in the past. And if possible, arrange for a phone call ahead of time from that person to the person with AD to just have a short conversation, and it kind of is a motivator to help them realize who is coming and to connect it with things from the past. It's important to maintain or adapt our family rituals and to keep those traditions, because the person with Alzheimer's will connect with that, and it's a link from their past, and it helps them maintain their self-esteem. And it's important to involve the person with Alzheimer's. We kind of think that maybe people with Alzheimer's aren't able to do some things, but actually, with a little patience and guidance, there's a lot of things they can do to be involved. Ask them help you to prepare food. Simple activities that are safe. Be sure to keep the safety in mind. Wrapping packages. And decorations as we're decorating the tree. And setting the table. And when giving directions, break it down into parts. Don't just say, set the table. If there's confusion with that, then say, get the plate out of the cupboard and put it on the table. When that's done, silverware out of the drawer. Break it down into parts, because overall, saying set the table is a lot when you think about it if you break it down. But don't overdo involvement. It is easy to overload. So try to keep the routine as much in place as possible. And taking on too many things at once can wear anyone out, but especially someone with Alzheimer's. This overload happens, and it happens quickly, and it results in some very difficult to deal with the agitation later on. And try to blend your seasonal rituals into the daily activities. And, if you are accustomed to taking a walk every day at a certain time, don't miss that. You can make that part of your day too. And for people who have trouble with sundowning, for Alzheimer's patients, that's not uncommon. It's a good idea to have activities scheduled earlier in the day. And that doesn't apply to everyone. Some people aren't affected by late day, but overall, that's a good suggestion. Okay, I wanted to touch on communicating with Alzheimer's patients. This in itself is a whole presentation that when you are visiting someone or approaching them for the first time, go slowly and approach them from the front. Don't come up from the back or the side and startle them. That's very disturbing to someone who has dementia. Go to their side and get down low so they can see you and read your lips, see your facial expressions. You might not think they are recognizing you, but they will recognize your expression and your body language. Body language is very important for people with dementia. When you approach them, offer your hand palm up, non-threatening, and it's okay to touch their arm as you talk to them. Touch is very important to someone with dementia. They never lose, humans never lose that need to be touched, that human contact. Use their preferred name, and when you talk to them, view them as an adult. They're not a child, they're an adult. They just have a condition. Avoid rephrasing. If you say something and you think they don't understand, use the same words. Don't say it in a different way, and that's what we're all conditioned to do that. Just repeat the question in the same way. Avoid pronouns. If you say he went someplace, they aren't going to know maybe who he is. You have to stop and think about who he is, and then they lose track of conversation. And what words should we avoid using at all costs? And I didn't fill this in because I want you to fill it in on your handout so you remember it. And that's the word, remember. Don't use the word remember if you can avoid it. And you have to consciously think about that. It's hard. Think of conversation as a bouncing ball. You bounce the ball out, and then you wait for them to bounce it back to you. Instead of saying, remember when, or remember that Christmas when mom dropped the turkey. Instead of saying remember, say, I was thinking of that Christmas when mom dropped the turkey. It wasn't funny at the time, but it is now. And then you wait. Be patient and wait for an answer. It takes someone with Alzheimer's time to process. That memory might not be there, but yet it might be. So when you wait a while and then all of a sudden you might get back, oh, right, and the dog jumped on it, we couldn't get it away from him, and what did we have for dinner that night? And that gives you, they're bouncing the ball back to you, and you can say, it was Spam. Remember, we had a Christmas dinner of Spam. And that, then you bounce it back and forth like that. But at all costs, avoid using the word remember. Okay, and I'm about out of time. It's sometimes hard to know what to give somebody with dementia. So these are just gift ideas. The Alzheimer's Association has an identification bracelet that you can order off of the internet, off their website. These are other items. One of the assisted livings here in town, Prairie View Gardens, is doing a lot with music therapy in Alzheimer's patients. It's just wonderful. They load iPod shuffles, the little clicky with music, and because it has a clip on it, you can put it on the back. So you put it on, turn it on, headphones on, and it sends that person into a music world, and it's been a very successful program. But you can also provide CDs too if you're not with the iPod age yet. And these are just other gift ideas. Photo albums are wonderful. That's one of the best things you can do is go back and just make an album of old pictures from the past. It doesn't matter what they are, vacations, family memories of any kind are just wonderful. And then, the most important person in the picture in some ways is the caregiver. And don't forget to take care of yourself. And family ask you what you want, tell them you'd like a day of respite, or ask for a chore service. Sometimes housekeeping is really difficult to get done, so they're ideas. And in closing, I just want to remind you that it's important to think about what you wish to achieve from your holiday activities. When you have someone with Alzheimer's, caregiving someone with the dementia, your priorities might change. And it's important to remember that the reason for the season, just getting together with your family and sharing that love, and making adaptations to do that is very easy. I hope I've given you good suggestions for that. And you also have a booklet that goes into a lot more detail. So that little half-sheet booklet with a green picture on the cover. Well, that concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.